Welcome everyone to another Low Brass U Studio class, episode 7 with myself and Connor Eisenmenger. And I think today we're going to talk about a few different things, but one of those things might be that we talk a little bit about the recently released all-state etudes for the larger schools in the state of Texas, which I know is a good portion of the viewership. But before we do that, we have to bring in Mr. Eisenmenger.
Hello.
Yeah, you're
glad to be here.
And I also
should do something different today.
Yeah, you did do something different.
Yeah.
And I need to get my comments thing going. I forgot to do that because I'm forgetful.
That's okay.
There's always something. But yeah, so it's been an interesting time, I'm sure, for the people in Texas who are working on these etudes. It's definitely been interesting for me because usually I take like multiple weeks to get all these etudes out, and I'm trying to do them all this week. In my perfect world, I have them all done, but that requires me to like learn 12 etudes.
And you're slugging them out.
But it's like I do know most of these, to be fair.
Sure.
It's not like this is necessarily square one. And I did have some of them recorded previously because I was working out of these books. So I did. I mean, I feel like it's fair, but I did game the system a little bit. So, but yeah. So I think I had 3 of them done, or was it 2 of them done? I can't remember.
We shall see.
But yeah, now I did 2 yesterday, 2 today, so that's 6 of 12. So I'm exactly at halfway, and I'm hoping that I can motivate myself to do more after this stream. But I've also chipped away at doing the ones that I either know better or are easier for me, which is a little bit of a problem to start that way, because now I have the harder ones, or like the ones that I'm less familiar with, or exploit some technical weakness in my playing, like multiple tonguing, which is always a good topic for discussion. So yeah, let's jump right in, and feel free, if anybody's on here and they want a specific etude to talk about, we'll probably go through all of them. But if you have something on your mind, or if you say that, hey, I'm not from the state of Texas, I don't want to hear anything about that, let us know too. But we figured that would at least be a good kind of starting place. So let's see if my little fancy setup here actually worked. There's one thing I forgot. I didn't do audio. one second, and
I can talk. Wow, look at all those notes and rhythms.
Now I can also talk. See, I told you, just like every other week, we have never had a technical issue. Everything is always perfect. We're just, we're just perfect with technology. That's the name of the game with this stream. So cool. So let's first take a look at this F major one. So this is the tenor trombone etudes that we're going to start off with, and these are all from the Selected Studies book, the Voxman Selected Studies, which is a really common book. It's got some really great etudes in there, some Blazevich. I think the Blazevich ones are always my favorite. It's just because Blazevich is just always like meat and potatoes for me of things that I grew up practicing a lot. But yeah, so this F major etude,
for the most part,
for the most part, it does. Yeah, that's how the book is configured. There are always 2 etudes in each key, 2 major, 2 minor. Although they don't have all of them, and then there are some duplicates. I think that there's both C flat and B major. But I don't make all the decisions. It's probably not how I would have done it, but that's okay. But anyway, so this one I've already posted the video of this F major etude, and what I will admit is that it's a little bit quick. I did look at the tempos. I then checked with a metronome, and then I did not use a click nor a metronome while recording. So I basically start right on the top speed and then go probably a little bit faster because, I'm not perfect, and sometimes I rush, sometimes I drag, Sometimes I don't do either, but most of the time it's one or the other. So it's a
Other
little
times
bit.
you don't do either?
Yeah, sometimes I'm perfect. That's rare.
Wow.
But yeah, so it's. I think this is a great etude. It definitely doesn't need to be that fast. I think that the thing when I was working on this, the grace notes were the first thing that I would say take out, and that's my general rule for everyone.
Just remove them completely when you're running through it?
Right. You don't need all these grace notes. There's so many, and they really do make this etude a little bit more challenging than I would like. In my perfect world, I would just say probably for most people never play them.
Oh, so like never, like even like when you go into the audition, just like no grace notes?
Unfortunately, I can't say that is a good idea. That's
You're
what
going to tell me that I'm going to get first chair in All-State without playing the grace notes?
No, simply put, that will not happen. That being said, you might make region not playing the grace notes if it's really accurate. I think the problem is I think judges that aren't me are more likely to penalize you for not playing those grace notes.
They would see that you didn't observe them and be like, sorry, that note, each point, each note is like 0.033 repeating points, and you missed that one. So sorry, buddy.
So yeah, that to me, I would definitely leave them out as a practice technique. I would say everyone, myself included, I did have to practice these. I know it looks like I got them out really quickly. I still had to practice, and when I practiced this etude, I didn't play the grace notes.
I'm still practicing this etude.
Yeah. So right, it's like I wouldn't say I mastered. I think I got a decent enough take on after a few tries and things, but yeah, I think that this is a really good etude. There are a couple errors. I'll leave the errors all to the TMEA website. They're mostly pretty obvious ones, I would say, but even if you think that there's another error, probably don't actually do that, because if they get final say if you're using it for the state of Texas. But if not, some of these.
You're talking about like note errors or things that are like in the edition that's posted.
Yeah, they always list the errata.
So they post corrections.
Correct.
Later. Okay, so then if there's something that you think is wrong, but they haven't posted an official, the note is actually this, like, don't change it. Play exactly what's there.
Like, for instance, I don't know how well you can see my cursor, but this note right here, well, you won't be able to see it.
I sure can.
Yeah, you definitely can't see it. But you'll see it after the fact on the stream. But it should be a D sharp. It's like a D sharp every other time past that point in that pattern. I think that when I was practicing this etude prior to it being released, I was playing a D sharp and playing not what was printed, but playing what is in actuality probably correct. And then there's another one later, or maybe there's a couple I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, so observe whatever they say, and nothing more. But yeah, it's a great etude. I say a lot of things that seem obvious, but I feel like I still have to say them. And also, even though you haven't really been practicing these, feel free to chime in with things that you see that might be difficult, or might have a way of practicing it or something.
I got thoughts about these etudes.
Yeah. What do you got?
I got one right now. Here's what I would run into trouble. 16-year-old high school me would have done this incorrectly, and current 2021 version of me would screw this up too. I'm looking at like the differences, or like the passages that have both staccati and slurred notes. Like for me, like the first thing that would scare me is in the second line, there's like all those staccato notes, and then there's that little thing. I don't even know what to do. What do you do there? Like the two B flats, is that tied?
Yeah, so that's not how I would like to see things printed. My belief of what that should be, I don't know that I learned this in school or something, is that it should be still tied. I mean, because what does a staccato mean? It means separation. So that doesn't mean short necessarily. You can have a longer note, you could have double the note value, but still have separation from the notes around it on each side. Does that kind of make sense as an idea? That's my interpretation of it. I'll be honest, I'm not that worried about it. I really try to always play every single detail. That's one that I kind of deem a little bit silly and don't worry about it quite as much.
I see. Well, I find it fascinating.
I mean, you can listen to the recording I did and judge for yourself if there's separation or if anyone even cares. You know, I don't know that anyone does.
I'm going to enjoy your video with my coffee tomorrow morning. Christine and I will relish it.
Maybe I'll have them all done by then. Maybe I'll just pull an all-nighter.
Well, then we'll have a marathon session tomorrow morning.
You have 12 etudes to listen to.
Yeah, I do it every morning, actually. I go through all your videos.
Yeah.
But
you're making this channel profitable.
I'm looking at the notation right there, and like, I don't know if this is like just like being a little obstinate and snubbing my nose at like the ad. It's like the staccato, and then it's tied to a whole nother note. Like, it should be a long note with like technically what they've written is it just needs to be separated on either side. But the value of the two eighth notes tied together is going to be theoretically twice the length of whatever the separated version of the staccato eighth note was on either side of it, right?
I think you're too focusing on this. I think that I think there are bigger fish to fry than that. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of a silly thing. I think how most people would naturally play it is probably fine, is what I would say.
Sure. It's going to go by fast enough that it's not going to be an issue.
Right. But yeah, just making sure with this etude, there are a lot of dynamics, and making sure we're playing all the dynamics. I think that's a thing that like sounds really obvious and seems like a thing that doesn't need to be said. But as someone who's judged these sorts of things before, and I'm sure that you've judged similar things to this, Connor, it's just like, how often do you just hear no dynamics?
Pretty much most of the time.
Right. It's like even when you think that you're doing dynamics, you're not doing enough.
That's what I hear more often is like
you're kind of doing it.
Brass players that like I can tell that they think that they're really selling it to me with these great dynamics. Just like, yeah, that's cool. Like that's about 10% of what I want.
Right. So the way that I always talk about dynamics with my students is it's like stage makeup. I don't know if we've talked about this idea before. Have we talked about it?
We have.
Yeah. So for those who maybe, I don't know if we've talked about it on stream or not, but the idea is that just like if you go see a play or a musical, you'll see the actors on stage and they have what's called stage makeup that's really, really overdone. Like if you're supposed to be old, you'll have really, really big wrinkles that are drawn on your face. And just like everything is way over the top because it has to translate to the people who are all the way in the cheap seats, all the way in the back. And so that's the same thing that I think about with dynamics. As long as the tone and other things don't start to get bad, in general, I don't think you're going to overdo dynamics. It definitely is possible to overdo dynamics, but I think that the odds that you are overdoing dynamics, it's like 1 in 100.
Right.
I always tell my students like overdo it, and then we'll dial it back from there. And then they think they overdo it. And it's like, yep, that's good. Moving on. So yeah, I think it's a great etude. Do want to acknowledge some of these comments. Hopefully Brian's still here. Hopefully he didn't leave because we didn't get to his question.
Brian!
But Brian asks, do you guys double or doodle tongue? And my answer to that is only if I really have to, and it's probably double, not doodle. I definitely have practiced that before, but I wouldn't say that that's something that I really do unless I have to.
It depends on the context for me. I mean, for like, I would say that I'm trying to bridge the gap right now in my jazz playing specifically of like getting my doodle cleaner in like the medium to medium up tempos. I'm pretty much like, I'm on a soul searching quest right now to get a really strong doodle where I am duhing the downbeat and dueling the offbeats up to like 260. And if I can get it there, to which point I would probably switch to a double, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I mean, I think both of us have a reasonably fast single tongue, which makes, just kind of naturally makes your double tongue worse because you don't need it as much, and if you don't need it, you don't develop it.
Just never use it.
So you'll, not that, we don't have this platform so that we brag about all the things we can do, but you will definitely not hear me bragging about how great my multiple tonguing is. It's not like a problem for me, but it's not something I love doing, and if I can get away with not doing it, I will. That being said, we'll all get to find out how well I can double tongue or triple tongue on one of the euphonium etudes that we'll get to, because if I go the slowest tempo, I maybe could get away with single tonguing it, but it's like my tongue would get tired so quickly. It's like I can do it, but I can't sustain it. And then Elvis says, name a more iconic duo. I don't think he can. Hopefully you're doing all right,
Sorry.
Elvis. I haven't really talked to you since you got your wisdom teeth removed. So hopefully you're back with us playing and everything.
Eating ice cream.
Yeah, eating all the foods. Let's see. What transcriptions do you guys know by heart? That's a hard question. I've known several by heart. I don't know the last time that I played one of the ones that I know from heart, from memory. I'm sure there's some that I could get through. I bet you have a longer list, or like you would be more successful, I would guess.
I would say there's probably a good handful of Steve Davis transcriptions that you could needle drop me, and I'd be ready to go. There was a time when I was much more studious, and you could call any track from Eloquence or Say When, and I'd be ready to rumble, but I have not checked back on those in a long time.
I think I could still do Shortcake Steve Davis. I think I could probably get through most of that one, and
absolutely.
It wouldn't be the best that I've ever played it, but it probably would be okay.
That's the one with the Blue Train quote at the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, I also didn't play it on piano, but like that,
I know.
Those are some of the notes.
Those are some of the notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if there was one that I had to pull out right now, it would be probably a Steve Davis one, or that one I was working on a couple months ago, the Luke Brimhall solo on March of the Tadpoles, from their live version of that, from I think one of like the ATWs or something. There's a great, if you want to talk about like a crucible of single tongue stuff, which I think is what's going on in that, like go check out that solo. It's hard. I still can't play it at the tempo, but
yeah,
great exercise, great etude.
Yeah, I'm sure that there are some Marshall Jokes ones I could get through, but some of his are like technically a little bit harder, where it's like if I haven't played those notes in those combinations, I'm not sure I can just do it off,
Yeah, that's a difference of like I have the knowledge of it,
right? The
skill to actually like replicate it on a musical instrument. No, there's like a part in every single solo that Marshall Jokes has ever taken in his life where it's just like, yeah, I can't make that sound on any instrument that I own. Sorry.
Yeah. The Steve Davis ones, I feel like at this point, like if I know it, I can execute it on like the knowledge is the only concern for most of those.
And the commodity of a Steve Davis solo is the language,
right,
and where it is being put.
Not to say that's not true of Marshall, but like,
right, but it's like that's
Steve Davis isn't playing
something.
double A's. Let's put it that way. I think that's the most simple way to put it.
Right.
So we got a hello from Bryce. I feel like we're not going to do much with these etudes. If people have questions,
I feel like we're making
we got through one etude, and I was thinking about this too for whom to whom it may concern, that I would like to do individual. I was talking to Connor about this. Do individual live streams with like kind of different guest hosts, and talk about do live streams where that's the only thing we're doing, where it's scheduled and everybody knows when it's happening, and you send your questions early if you can't be there. But like in my perfect world, I'm going to separate all of those, which I think is something I could get going. I just need to, corral everybody together, and the likelihood that I could get them all done before I won't be here for reasons that you're aware of, Connor. But it's just I don't know if I can get those done. I guess I could get it done. So I got most of the month. But yeah. Anyway, so I definitely saw this question, and I lost my mouse, but there it is. This is a good question, Brian. Brian always has great questions. Let's make that abundantly clear. But what I will say is I think this is one of my more favorite questions from Brian.
You like this question.
If you had infinite funds, what would your stable look like? So, do you want to go first, Connor? Because I think that we'll probably just, end the stream with me talking about it if that
what
goes
would
that
our
route.
stable look like? Like how many ponies would we have?
Yeah, how many ponies by Genuine would you have?
All right. Well, there's only one. It's the trombone solo by Zach Marley, hosted on Low Brass U. That's the only.
I don't have a pony solo on the internet, or not on YouTube. I think there might be one in early days of TikTok. I don't know. I see. But yeah. No, but I should post that video. The only reason why I haven't is just because that song is maybe not I don't know. I mean, they're try to keep it clean. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know that. I mean, I guess it's just a trombone solo over some C sharp minor. We don't really need to worry about.
You could just call it a contrafact.
Right. Yeah.
An impromptu composition. It's just infinite funds. What does your arsenal of trombones look like? I don't know.
Or any brass instruments? Do you know?
Or any brass instruments. I mean, I would definitely have a King 3B. That's the one I've been fixated on recently, of things that I want to try out. And also, I don't know. That's the only thing that I would change. I guess
you don't even have a bass trombone. Not to call you out on that, but you wouldn't even have a bass trombone. In this perfect world, you wouldn't own the trombones that you don't own.
I'm just not picky about the bass trombones. Of course I would have one if I had infinite funds to have any trombones that I want. I just don't think it matters what bass trombone I pick, because I'm just going to sound bad on all of them, because it's just not a world that I live in that often. So could be a nice one. It's could be an old student horn from an old middle school band program.
You don't have a
bass trombone.
You're not imagining well enough for this question.
I'm not. All right, then what are you thinking of? What's your fancy trombone that you want to buy?
Well, so I think we have to go from one direction to another. I think we have to go through. Let's go from largest bugle to smallest bugle.
I already don't like this conversation.
Yeah, but Brian, I wouldn't have brought this up, but Brian asked the question. I think that
all right.
We have to give Brian what he wants. It's this.
Let's hear it.
So I would have a few different B flat tubas. I know that sounds odd, but I would have probably I think the Hagen from Miraphone is the B flat tuba that I would I think I would go with. Again, I would try out everything before, but I'd want some large rotor, orchestral play some German music on B flat tuba. I want a really compact B flat tuba as well, something like the Eastman 632, something like that, where it's a small bore but still in the key of B flat. And then also, even though it's kind of silly and not what I normally go for, B flat double slide contrabass trombone from Miraphone, which I definitely would prefer one in F, but again, we'll get there. So C tubas, I would definitely have a Rudy Meinl 3/4. I definitely would want more of a York style 6/4 that I don't really have, and then probably a PT6 also, or whatever they call it now, and probably a 4/4 horn. Exactly which one, I don't know. There are lots of good options. And then E flats, I think I'd have to go with I feel like I'm just completely unchecked right now. But I'm here for it, and
You're unhinged.
The viewership has only gone up since I've started talking about it. So
I'm not here for this. Keep going. I'll tell you what tubas I'll buy after you finish your tuba section.
So E flats, I would definitely want a 3+1 compensating E flat, just for the fun of it and for the brass band look. But I'd probably go more for the front action compensating, a Besson 983, or Eastman makes one similar to that now as well. And then that's probably good on the E flats. Brian didn't say infinite space to store all these instruments. It's just infinite money.
He did say a stable though, so I imagine think about how much that space that might be.
Right.
You're just outside of Lexington. Land is pretty cheap.
We're right next to like where all the thoroughbreds are like with
Keeneland,
with all the limestone water,
the limestone,
where all the bourbon is made.
Right.
So then moving on to F tubas, I don't think I could ever have too many F tubas. So I'll just leave that there. I think if I had infinite money, I think I would just keep buying F tubas.
You wouldn't go to space?
No, actually, I don't want any business in space. I'll off topic, but I will not go to space.
There's no sound waves. It's useless for us.
Yeah.
There's no industry.
Right. So then moving to I forgot also with F, a contrabass trombone, probably at the tine, but maybe even like two tines, one with the American style tuning, like the bass trombone, C D flat valves, and also the B flat D kind of more traditional German tuning as well. So moving on to bass trombones, we're going up.
Wait, I said I was going to share my tubas.
Oh yeah, you go with your tubas. And to answer Bryce's question, are you good at trumpets? I would say I am not very good, and I would say Connor is slightly better.
I have little moments of trumpeting that do not come from any sort of skill. They come out of commercial necessity, and trumpet happens because it has to. And then by the end of whatever the engagement is, I'm like, wow, this is really fun. I should keep up with this and practice it every day. And I don't. And then I go back to sounding like a fourth grader.
Yeah, I definitely have similar situations with this where it's like, if I were practicing all the time, like when I was teaching brass methods at UNT and I had to play trumpet twice a week in that class, I wouldn't say I got good at it. I could play most of the notes and
that's nice.
Make a decent sound. But yeah, I wouldn't say that's not why you're on the low brass use stream. I'll put it that way.
No.
I like looking at trumpets sometimes, like hearing trumpets, like playing with trumpet players, but I don't know that neither of us are. I would say we might be labeled as trumpet hobbyists. Is that fair to say? We both dabble just a little bit.
Maybe apologists. Or just supporters of trumpets.
Yeah.
I watch someone playing the trumpet like I watch if I see like an orca swimming in the water in the Puget Sound, I think what a wonderful life that must be to live like the orca in the water. I myself do not swim in the ocean 24 hours a day and eat krill and things like that, but yeah. I admire their lifestyle.
I see.
So here's my tuba story.
Yeah.
And this is something that I learned about myself this week because of a logistics of a musical engagement where there was like a moment in the planning process of this musical engagement where we were just like, we don't know if there's going to be a whole rhythm section here. And it was like, what are we going to do? Like there might not be a bass player. And so I was like, how much does a fiberglass sousaphone cost?
more than you want.
Myself that question. Yeah, I was surprised. I thought maybe there's got to be someone selling one from some old dusty high school program for like $150.
It's really upsetting.
Yeah, like 10 times that much at the very bottom.
Everyone that I know that has a sousaphone is just like, yeah, I got this great vintage Con. Like they were just throwing it out and they let me have it. And it's just like every time I look for a sousaphone, it's just like to get one that I think I would be happy playing, it's just like $1,200 or something. It's just like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
I'm not paying that.
But I am fortunate right now that I have a sousaphone in my possession that is not mine, and it's a sweet one. So
that's cool.
Which I'm actually gonna get to play in like a week and a half.
Oh really?
I've got a Dixieland gig.
Nice.
And I could play it's a sit-down gig. Like I don't need the sousaphone, but I think for my own just like ease of brain power, I need a B-flat overtone series.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
It's easier. If I'm reading changes, which I'm pretty sure I will be, like I can do it on any key of tuba, but playing by ear and stuff, it's just, since I do that mostly on trombone, it's just easier. I know I could like get better at it on C and F tuba. I'm also, yeah. I would say I'm better at it on F tuba than I am on C tuba, but then the problem is F tuba is like not really bassy enough for a lot of that sort of thing. Even though you can play the notes, it's a little too thin.
Right.
So yeah, I think that the B-flat sousaphone is going to be the best option, but there are charts and everything, which is good, because the last time I played like a Dixieland sort of trad jazz thing, there weren't charts, and it's like, I can make that stuff up a lot easier if I'm a horn player. It's like if I don't know the chords, I don't know the chords.
Right.
So that one's a little bit tricky. It definitely just like puts you in your place when you like have a gig that doesn't go the way that you want it to.
Oh yeah.
Because I just don't know all of that music. Like I know jazz standards, but like trad standards and like that's a deeper list than. There's only slight overlap.
And and sousaphone gigs are tricky, and like there's like so many different like libraries and like bodies of work that kind of get lumped into like, oh, we're playing a Dixieland band or trad jazz or whatever they call it, pre-bop, or they might call it like old style, like, you know, New Orleans brass band. That opens up a whole different can of worms.
Right. Are we playing Ain't Misbehavin' or are we playing Brooklyn?
Right. It's just so, there's so much to know, and it's like there's really a huge overhead of tunes to have facility on.
Right.
But I think it would be a really, really fun gig to like operate as a sousaphone player inside of that musical space, like walking bass lines and then also doing some of the more modern stuff. And I don't know, it could be really fun. I realized that about myself. Like I was like, wow, like if I needed to make a game time decision, my brain went to like, oh, I need to find a sousaphone. Like I didn't know that about myself.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of trombone players that, you know, that's the thing that they end up doing. You know, especially in Chicago when I was there were a lot of trombone players that had some sousaphone stuff going on. And you know, it's like they would have me like sub for them or something. It's just like, yeah, I can do this. It's to me, it's like a Venn diagram of my skills. It's like I know how to do most of these things, but you're combining them in a way that I'm not as successful at.
Right.
But under the right circumstance, like with charts, I'll be fine, and I'm not like actually worried about it. I think it's gonna be a ton of fun, but it's definitely, you know, it is not as simple as just like, hey, let's play jazz standards that you know, or even if you don't know, you kind of know them.
Right.
You know, it's like that's a different body of work. Or like, you know, playing a brass quintet gig is just like, yeah, like I played most of these things, you know, there are only so many things that get played. But yeah, one thing that Bryce said, I feel like going smaller with mouthpiece is harder than going larger. I don't know if I always agree with that. I think just like at some point, if it's so different, it can be kind of weird.
Yep. Yeah. For me, it's the contrast, like the bigger the difference is, and the proximity of the time in between playing them. Like I know there's certain exceptions to that, like your James Morrisons of the world that can just kind of hop, skip, and jump from any size of instrument. And
we're not saying some people can't do it.
Right.
Some people
like
can do it.
People can. I can tell you right now, I can't, and I have, you know, true experiences of it not working out. Like one time I had to play in the Basically Bassy reading band in Texas, where we do all the Bassy charts. I was playing bass trombone, and this was during a time when a trumpet friend of ours, Luke, and I were messing around playing a lot of tunes on trumpet. And it was like 2 a.m, and I'm playing bass trombone, and he hands me his trumpet. I'm like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to play some stuff on this. And it's like, couldn't even get a sound to come out of it. It was like, from all the flopping that I had been doing in the low register, I tried to, and nothing. It's just like, it was as if I had never picked up a trumpet before in my life. So I learned that about myself and my own personal resilience when navigating bore sizes that are, or, you know, mouthpieces that are much different in size.
I will say, you know, we kind of stopped our question of Brian's, but like, I think I would buy a nice flugelhorn though if I had infinite funds. Like
I'm lucky that I already have a nice flugelhorn. Well, I don't have there's a nice flugelhorn in my house.
Yeah.
I'm too afraid to play it.
Because I've always felt like I sound okay on flugelhorn. Like nothing to brag about, but like compared to trumpet, like I sound a lot better, which I mean obviously makes sense. It's a larger bore, slightly larger mouthpiece, like it tracks. But yeah, I always liked playing flugelhorn. For a while in high school with my jazz combo, I would play like 75% trombone and 25% flugelhorn. Because it was like I had bad slide technique, so I couldn't play anything fast on trombone. But then I was also bad at the flugelhorn, so I couldn't really play it that well. So it's like I kind of just like I couldn't. I remember not being able to play like A Night in Tunisia on trombone.
That's a tricky one.
But then I was like getting around just okay on the, on the flugelhorn to play it.
Right.
And there probably are. I don't think there's video evidence of that necessarily, but there is one of my high school jazz combo gigs that is on the internet. I'm sure that I've shown you that before, but it definitely is not on the Low Brass Youth channel, and it's not. I have no actual control over it. I wonder if I can find it, because at this point, I think it would just be kind of comical, and also, I don't know. I think that normalize like showing the videos of you sounding terrible from when you were younger.
Not terrible. Normalize showing videos of you at different developmental stages of your playing journey.
We'll fix that in post.
There you go.
I was in a different place in my educational journey. I'd been playing trombone for a very small amount of time.
Here's what I'm hearing is that you were a self-directed learner that was setting your own creative goals. Not only that, you took an educational risk in trying an instrument that was maybe just new to you, or there was some things you were still figuring out, and you put yourself in an environment where you had to perform on that instrument. And that is, you cannot ask for a better example of self-directed learning. If you were a teacher, you'd be checking boxes all over rubrics. You'd be so happy as a clam.
So I found it. I was listening, but I found the videos. So there's 6 videos on this channel from my old group. One of them doesn't really count. It's like a promo video for our high school jazz ensemble. And then the other 5, the one with the most views has 530 views. It's Chameleon with Harry Pickens playing the guitar.
Nice.
And there are 3 subscribers to this channel. So I probably gave enough information where you could find that out now.
Right, you could find that.
But yeah, these are the days. 11 years ago, this was posted.
Wow.
So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, let's see. Brian says, let's see if I can do this. What has been your most memorable moment in music? That's a pretty tough one.
That is tricky. Most memorable moment. Do you have one off the top of your head?
No. You think that question makes it sound easy to come up with?
Right.
It's supposed to be the one that sticks out. I don't know. It's like at some point it's just like it all like not runs together, but it's like a whole like journey, It's like, I guess there are points in that journey. There are like specific concerts or specific gigs. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of just like all a part of this, not just like zoom out too far and just be like, yeah, it's everything. But it's like, it's kind of, it's a little bit of just like, it's all part of stuff. I mean,
well, I think personally for me,
yeah, you go ahead.
There's, I don't know, there was kind of a decision that I made sometime around like being like 19 or 20 or so, and like had a few years of practicing a little bit more seriously and deciding like what my experience in music and how I wanted to engage with music in my life, and kind of set some like core beliefs about like wanting to engage with the community around me and play with open ears and listen to my peers, and kind of, I was in it for the community. And from then on, it's like, it doesn't really matter what the concert ended up being. It was like everything was kind of aligning within that ethos. And like there were really, really good concerts that like objectively sounded great, and there were some that didn't sound as fantastic. But I feel like once I kind of decided why I wanted to be in music, all of them started to be pretty fun. Or at least, there were sort of moments where I realized like maybe this music isn't serving the mission of why I'm going to be in here, and then you don't play that type of music anymore, or whatever, you get out of whatever that environment is.
Right.
But yeah, so I can't pinpoint any one specific concert exactly. I can tell you that I remember the concerts where my dad is watching a lot more vividly, because I don't know why I get nervous, because my dad is not, he's musical. He's like very into like audio. He's like an audiophile. He knows a bunch about like records and I think he's got a great ear, but he's not a musician by profession. But there's something about specifically when he's listening to performances that I remember them more vividly. I think I'm more focused on what's going on. So there you go.
Yeah. I don't know. One memorable moment that I can definitely think of is like the first time that I played Scheherazade. I think that's like one of those like in like youth orchestra, and I just like remember the moment at the end where like it's kind of a nice spot. It's like if you have the right conductor, like trombone can play really loud, and it's just got this like soaring like line over top of everything. In my eyes, it's probably not exactly what it should be, but and I got like clearance to play basically as loud as possible with like a full orchestra playing like as loud as they could, and just playing like da 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 ba da da, just like over top of everything, and it was just like, I don't know, I definitely remember that. I don't know. There's just like so many. There's so many good moments. I mean, I think about like the first time playing for like a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like I think that was something that was kind of eye-opening and kind of like, I don't know. It's not like I didn't get nervous, but it's just like I found out that I could do it. You know, like I found out like it didn't like, because it's not. Sometimes you just see the crowd and you're like, I can't do this, and. You know, I've definitely struggled with nerves in some ways, but sometimes there's like some like fight or flight moments where you fight, and it's like it's nice. And that like one of those was like, again, with my youth orchestra, we played with the band My Morning Jacket, which is definitely like them just like being nice to us.
That's still pretty cool.
I'm not saying that I actually, you know, it's like I don't list that in my bio saying that like has shared the stage with My Morning Jacket, even though it's like technically true. But yeah, it was just like, it was in the Yum Center when it was like brand new, and which is where the Louisville Cardinals play basketball games now.
There you go.
But yeah, I just remember, you know, big arena and like playing for a ton of people, and it was fun.
Playing for a lot of people is always a rush. That's an enjoyable experience to me.
Yeah.
You know what gets me more nervous is playing for very few people.
Yeah, when they like everything that you're doing can be heard, and
yeah, like small auditions, or even worse, playing like little apartment concerts for like small parties and things like that. Also, don't ask a trombone player to play a concert in an apartment. Just don't do it. It's gonna sound bad. But that, I think, like concerts where I've had the most nerves, it was usually much smaller. One time I was playing with a folk band when I was like 18, and this was like a band where I was playing like mandolin, trumpet, guitar, like nothing really in my wheelhouse. Only person that showed up to our gig in Knoxville, Tennessee was my uncle. So we played for him,
Uncle
and
Carl?
the barista. Not Uncle Carl, Uncle Alan. So, but yeah, that was nerve-wracking. It was good to see Uncle Alan, but man, that was because you're just like playing every note at that one person, so you're thinking the whole time about how they're musically receiving the data that you're presenting.
Right. So Brian also asks, favorite big band charts.
That's a good question. My like favorite big band chart ever. There's probably two, and they're the same tune, different arrangements of in a mellow tone. The first
Buddy
one
Rich
being,
one, and the other. No,
I think it's Frank Foster.
Yeah, but wasn't that for the Buddy
and Barbecue?
Wasn't that for the Buddy Rich band?
Was it?
Or I don't know. Maybe I'm
thinking of the one that Count Basie's band played on Breakfast Dance and Barbecue, where Al Gray takes the solo.
Okay. And what's the other one? No,
and the other one, I don't know who wrote it. I just know that Ernie Royal plays lead trumpet on it, so it's kind of like Basie style. And it was from the Bashin' Jimmy Smith record with big band, where Jimmy Smith plays with big band, and that one's insane.
Gotcha.
I think that's the one with J.J. Johnson on lead trombone.
Yeah, I have to check that out.
It's really, really good. If you ever wondered what that sounded like, I don't know. Don't quote me on that. There's 2 albums that I listened to a whole bunch at the same time. One of them was Bashin', Jimmy Smith. The other one was With Respect to Nat, the Oscar Peterson album, where he is singing Nat King Cole tunes, and it alternates between OP Trio and OP singing with big band. And one of those albums has J.J. Johnson on lead trombone. I cannot remember which one. Gotcha. And now I'm thinking it might be the Oscar Peterson one. But In a Melatonin from Breakfast Dance and Barbecue and from Bashin'. It's just like, I just think it's a cool tune, and I love both of those arrangements.
So one of them that or I'm just going to go a different route.
Go for it.
I'm going to go newer instead of older. Like one
All
of
right.
my like current favorites. Plant-based Marshall Jilks.
Ooh, yeah.
Just like that, I don't know, that's just like a fun, it's a fun one to just like turn your car radio all the way up, or car sound system, and just like all the way up and just like shout the like backgrounds and like and just like imagine that you're just like a big band drummer and just like hitting everything as like hard as possible. I know they don't always hit everything as hard as possible. That's definitely how I
That's
do
what
it.
I would do.
That's how I do it in my head for sure.
Yeah.
Is hit everything as hard as humanly possible, and just like, I don't know. That's just like a fun one. Let's see. Brian also asks, desert island person or group to listen to. I feel like the wise thing with that would be to not just like pick what you think your favorite thing is, but think about what's like maybe the most diverse, or like especially like a larger, like I feel like you can almost go big band just because you could get solos from so many different people, especially if you choose like a band that played for a long time and has a lot of recordings.
Right.
Like I feel like that's almost the way to go. Or
So the question now has become, what one musical group or artist would you take with you to the desert island, and that was the only person that you're listening to for the rest of your days? That's how we're interpreting.
I think no matter what it is, I get tired of it.
I know who I would take.
Is it
Chris Thile?
Oh, it's not going to be Steve Davis?
No, it's not going to be Steve Davis. It's going to be Chris Thile.
All right.
Like the most inventive, amazing songwriter, and like all those different cool bands like Goat Rodeo and Nickel Creek, and the album with Brad Mehldau. And do you get all the artists that go with that person?
See, yeah, that's...
Even still, if it was just Chris Thile with the mandolin, as an artist, they could do so many different things and so many different genres, and like so much genre hopping goes on with their writing. So that'd be cool with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I don't have a good answer for that.
Just say Steve Davis and we'll move on.
I mean, my Steve Davis is Marshall Jilks. Like that's if we're going like
that's your trombone crush.
Yeah, if we're just going like, but I don't know. It used to be that for the longest time, and I feel like I still have to like rep Marshall Jilks as being my favorite trombonist. I'm not saying I don't like Marshall Jilks anymore, because I definitely still do. But there was a time where it was just like, it was Marshall Jilks and like no one could touch him. And it's like, I don't know, that's that simple.
Right. Like you had a time period of listening to Marshall Jilks where it was like, it was either Marshall Jilks or it was nothing.
Right. It was unhealthy.
So that is like, Marshall Jilks is the Paramore of your trombone listening. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, well, I think that you're mostly right, especially because like thinking of like the time period that I got into Marshall Jilks' stuff was like when he had 2 albums as a leader out. That's that's when I was like, and I had both of them on CD in my car, and I had like maybe like 6 or 7 CDs, and 2 of them were Marshall Jilks.
That's Lost Words was the second one, right?
Yeah. No, I get the order wrong because I got them at the same time. I got them when they were both already out.
Eden Dairy and Lost Words?
Yeah, I can't remember which one comes first.
I think Eden Dairy was first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should know that with how many times I've listened to both of those albums, but I just like don't know. But then like I remember in college when Sound Stories came out.
Yeah, that's just
I remember
blew
just
up
like
everything.
Yeah, because to me, that's like, I probably still have listened to Ed and Dairy more just because of like it being one of the 7 CDs in my car and just like listening to it nonstop for years. Right. But Sound Stories, I just feel like the person, especially like having Donnie McCaslin on there, is just like the absolute perfect like addition, not just like perfect saxophone player for that album, but perfect like any horn, you know, player. It's just like, I feel like because of that album, like I only see myself playing and like recording with a tenor player. And it's like, just like the idea of anything else just like doesn't seem to make sense because that album is just like so perfect. And that the other thing that I really like, I mean, all of his albums are this way, but especially Sound Stories to me, and maybe I'm being led by all the part 1 and part 2 action on that album, because I think they're like 3 different, you know, 2-part songs.
Right.
But to me, it's just like such a cohesive album. Like it's not just like, here are these tunes that I wrote. It's like, this is going, like, you have to listen to it in order. You have to listen to the whole thing. Like I will not like I will die on that hill. Like you have to go through the whole album listening to it just like straight through in order. And like I get really annoyed if like it comes on shuffle instead of like I have to like, you know, it's just you have to listen to the whole thing.
You know what's going to really bother you then?
What?
So that I put Anxiety Part 2 on a running playlist, and I like only listen to that one. I mean, I still listen to the rest of the record like pretty regularly.
Well, you can't run to that whole album. If I were choosing the album that I'm going to run to the rest of my life, that's probably not my album.
I don't know. I feel like people
what are you going to run
sleep on running to the slow jam, and I will put you on to something. Anybody here who does any sort of like steady state cardio, with it, like biking or running or kayaking or whatever it is that you do, rowing, check out, it's called People Like You, and there's a live recording with Joshua Redman and the Bad Plus, and you can run to that, and you'll run during the slow part, and you need to get immersed in the texture of the slow, spacey, ethereal, small group live jazz festival sound, because like they're like outdoors, got these big speakers, everything's all verbed up, and you just like get lost in that sauce, and then like you're running with that being like your like homeostasis, like this is where we are at cardio, and then the song builds and it gets huge, and like they do the whole like modern jazz like shred over a ballad straight eights thing, and you're just going to lose your mind, and you're going to run so fast, and it's going to be so cool, and then you will just like start the song over. I've done that before. It's just amazing. It's a great experience. Yeah, do not sleep on running to the slow jam, at least as long as it builds to somewhere cool.
So I just that reminded me of a story that like so few people actually would know about this story. Not that it's like scandalous or anything, but it's like I don't know, with my partner, I was always trying to find things that like stories that she doesn't know. You know, I don't know if you guys do that also. It's just like I'm always trying to like remember something. It's like, if I told you this story, and I'm pretty sure I haven't told her this story, it's really not that exciting. I'm giving a big build up, but it does have to do with what we're talking about, running to different music of different tempos. As one of my science fair projects in middle school was does running to a faster, like a song with a higher BPM, beats per minute, does that make you run faster? And of course, like, you know, it was a terrible project. I did not follow the scientific method very well. But I remember because my mom came to school that day, I think, and then like I got like everybody out of class, and we couldn't use the new gym, but we could use the old gym at Mazik Middle School. And I can't remember, maybe it was just no song and then a fast song. I think the fast song was Conga, if I remember correctly.
That would make me run pretty fast.
Right, that was like, I thought that was pretty good. But yeah, just that was my science fair project that I just had to do something, and I was just trying to pass the class.
So what were the results?
Yeah, I can tell you. I'm sure that I saw what I wanted to see in the results.
Sure.
Like, I'm sure that I led everybody to to the answer I wanted.
Right.
But
this happens in a lot of middle school science projects.
Right. Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's a funny story that reminded me of. But yeah, I just, going back to running to the sound stories, just like what do you do when you're listening to like Bear on that album?
Same thing. It's just like listening to people like you.
Yeah.
You just lose your mind. It's awesome. It's so cool. I love running to ballads, like really, really good ballads.
You're also like
actually slow.
I mean, I shouldn't say actually a runner. Like that implies that like,
there are people that are not actual runners.
Well, but like you run relatively frequently, or at least you do in my head. I don't know if you're currently doing it. But
I am absolutely like deep into it right now, but I would say I'm a fair weather runner.
Yeah, I know that there are times where you're not running all the time, but compared to me, you run a lot. That's not something that I've ever really been a part of.
I only do it. It's relevant for this streaming session because my trombone teacher was the one that finally convinced me to start running regularly. Even though like my whole family's always been big runners and they made me do cross country in middle school, I always hated it. And then my trombone teacher was like, well, I try to run 15 minutes or so, to help with the lungs and stuff. I don't know if it's ever actually helped anything, but like I feel better. Yeah. And then I'm like more like down to like practice.
I think that better. I haven't like read studies on it, but like I think that there's a connection.
Sure.
But yeah, it definitely can't hurt anything.
Sure. I can't be like doing anything bad for my trombone playing.
But yeah, so one thing that I'm thinking about, we kind of alluded to it because we should probably call this stream pretty soon here. Sure. We kind of talked about doing a live stream that's specific to each instrument or groups of instruments and things. So maybe with our normal time next week, or well, I say normal time, but are we on Thursday? Is that right?
I think we're on Thursday next week.
Let's all pull out our calendars and double check that. That looks right. I don't have anything else that day. But maybe we could use that time to look through the All-State Jazz tenor trombone etudes. Like that could be the thing that you and I talk about, and I can.
We know how to talk about that.
Yes. It might be a little bit tricky because it probably shouldn't show them on screen, but probably would be fine. I don't know. I'll have to think about that a little bit.
All right.
But yeah, we can at least talk about it because there definitely have been some questions that have come up. Especially there's some turns, and I don't think we've really talked about like jazz turns on stream. And I think it would just be nice to have like, here's the location that you go to learn these things about these etudes, and like if anyone has questions, we can use some of the comments that people have left on the videos,
right,
as kind of fodder for conversation. I think you'd have a lot of good things to say, and at least in a different way than I might say it.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. Let's plan on that for next week. Maybe we'll talk about some other things, and as always, we'll always answer a bunch of questions. So Connor and I'll be on Thursday. I'm gonna try to start seeing if I can get some different people to do some of the other ones. In my head, I want to get like people who, or not all they do necessarily, but like their thing is that one thing. Since I'm kind of the jack of all trades, like get someone who all they do is play euphonium. To do, or not all that, again, that doesn't have to be all that they do, but, someone who's really deep into that. A
specialist in that, yeah.
I have 0 degrees on the euphonium. Can I play the euphonium? Yes. Did I play it in every situation, every band that I was ever in? No. So yeah, I think I've got some good ideas of people, assuming they'll want to do it. But yeah, well, cool. We'll call the stream there. And I hope everyone has a nice Tuesday evening. And this also kind of works out because now I won't miss the NBA Finals tomorrow.
There you go. So congrats.
That's really how we schedule these streams, is around the NBA Finals. So, but cool. Well, we'll call the stream there. And thanks everyone for watching. And we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, different bat day.
Different bat day.
Different bat day. All right. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.